my age, you know, I'm in my early 50s. I would meet people my age who had parents who were suffering Alzheimer's, and so I thought, well, that's my audience, right? And then I started talking to students about the work and realized the students tended to have grandparents with Alzheimer's. So, and it is a disease that is, I mean, more and more people are getting it. Those of us of a certain age will be older soon, and we're under threat for it. So anyway, it does seem to be a subject that is live and interesting to people. So you know about the form of the book, which is something that just happened as I was keeping the blog, which was, it was not a public blog, which is why there's so few comments. But somewhere along the way, after I decided that I wanted it to be a real project and a real book, I realized that the form of the blog was important even after it was exported from the computer, because going from the present into the past, we usually go from the present sort of into the future, but going the other way around was very appropriate for dealing with dementia, because cause and effect was skewed, and other ways in which we find context for our lives got skewed, and that was very much like confronting someone with Alzheimer's. And it was also very much the way it was listening to President Bush and Donald Rumsfeld on television telling us there were WMDs, you know, there was anthrax, right? So that then became a crossing point, the political and the personal. These were my parents. My father died in 1992. This was, I think, probably from the 1980s in their very suburban living room. And my friend Gay Chan, who was for many years the design director of Tin Fish Press, made this cover. And so because my father is gone, she pretty much completely ghosted him. And then because my mother has Alzheimer's, there's a little bit more of her left. It took me a long time before I could actually look at this cover with any calmness. I mean, I think it's very effective. The back cover is based on the notion of a memory box. If you've gone to an Alzheimer's home, you know that outside everybody's door, there's a three-dimensional box with glass. And in the box are the photographs of the person who lives there, but they tend not to be current photographs. They tend to be, you know, old black and white. So-and-so was in the Navy in the war, it means World War II. And so they tend to be older photographs and of them with their grandchildren. And so I like to think of them as forgetting boxes, because these are the things that the people in the rooms have forgotten. So, and this, my mother used to have a wonderful sense of humor. So July 18th, 1955, this was a page from her calendar, which was in the box that provided these. And it says, "Get married okay." And I don't know if she got married in Annex B 8442, but it was very like my mother to write that joke to herself, you know, remember to get married. So I'll start with the first entry, which was the last one, which is when she is finally in the Alzheimer's home, and there's a common area where they try to hold somewhat intellectual conversations about current events and issues of the day to various results. Wednesday, January 3rd, 2007. The famous person of the day is Jim Baker. Michael asks, does anyone remember Jim and Tammy Faye Baker from the 80s? The supervisor's mother used to send them money. They stole it. Do you think people of the cloth should be held to a higher standard? The supervisor says they're just flesh and blood like her. That's right, says the woman whose sweatshirt has grandchildren's names on it. When I make 'em, she says, lifting her breasts with her hands. I guess I shouldn't say that. Yesterday she was woman 1. Woman 2 ignores her today. Michael is from West Virginia. He is large and wears black pants every day, a brown jacket. His beard is thin, as is his hair. He says he has no idea what time it is, or if it's morning or afternoon. Why are we talking about this? Yes, They should all just forget about it, pray to the Lord. That's what I do. I don't want to talk about this. Listen to the context of the entire conversation, Emma tells her. Michael's wife arrives. She does not have cancer. They leave. Lena takes over. She says something about Catholic priests. We do not want to talk about this. Not all Christians. They decide to sing instead. God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her. There's a reason why I went into poetry. Let's write a poem. The Christmas tree is a song, roses are red. Is this what you expected, the grandmother asked. This was not what she expected. Another asked what I think of the clientele. The woman who wears silk dresses moans. She sits in the back and cries. You mean you can't tell me that, Christine? But you went to Juilliard. Next door she cries again, sings Barney's song. You love me, I love you. The woman in the festive red sweater asks if I'm a professor. I'm a professor too, she says, her pale eyes wide. Health Administration, Pitt, San Bernardino. That's in San Bernardino. Get your mother some cough drops. She has a cold. The woman who wore no shoes is wearing them, black canvas shoes with white rubber on the bottom. She does not sit still. She places her hands on my shoulders, leans over, whispers, you're red hot. The angry woman next to me says, stay away from me. I'm not like that. When the woman with the canvas shoes approaches her, she walks in and out, sits and gets up. She speaks, but her subject is not ours. The woman who looks most European enters in a striped top. She could be sailing. She sits next to my mother, pushes her chair forward, then back. Lena tells her to stop. Stop! She pushes back until the chair is lodged against another. She keeps pushing. I pull a chair up beside my mother and sit. My mother smiles. One of the two black residents was a gym teacher. I just pull out my whistle now and tell them all to stop. She carries a Kleenex box wherever she goes. The memory boxes hold faces that smile out at you. Mental archaeology gets you closer. Sometimes the name gets you there, where they were before they forgot and their skin forgot, and we who did not know them then cannot know them now. She's an angel, your mother. She always smiles at me. Memory boxes keep families close in some time before this one. Loved ones hold each other, cradle babies. One photo is from 1958. It says so. That was the woman who squeezes my shoulders. That was the inappropriate man who gives the women flowers, talks about their lust. That was the woman who hates her name, with a family that must have had one. That was the man in overalls who puts his head down at lunch, even when he eats. That was Dr. French, who cannot stay awake. Name me one song from the musical Oklahoma. They all begin to sing. Hosted by Susan at 7:58 p.m., 0 comments.